continuous loop which you normally start with. We normally always start with the process of marketing from the point of understanding your customers, understanding your market. You need, whether you are serving in a B2C market, B2B market, C2C market, irrespective of the market structures, one of the things which you always start with understanding your customers. Now you need to know whom you're going to serve. That is one of the most important and the primitive thing for starting any marketing activity. So once you start the understanding your market, you normally go through the whole process of marketing. But when it comes to selling, selling is just a subset of marketing. When I talk about selling, how to start and how to end the selling part, you do not understand that part of understanding your customer because that is a part of marketing. So there's a marketing department who take care of understanding customers, building up a lead for the sales department. The sales department is to understand their process starts from understanding the sales forecast based on the whatever market has been defined by the marketing department. Based on that, they convert those sales into final conversion of orders, and their job is over. But the marketing process still continues. Even after that, there is something known as post-sales customer relationship management. So this is the basic differential between what is a marketing and what is selling. But when it comes to understanding marketing, as I said few minutes earlier, one of the fundamental thing is understanding your customer. So let me start my PPT. I will just share my PPT. I want to know whether this you can able to see that PPT or not. Uh, is this PPT visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Great. So I'm starting with talking about one of the most fundamental things of understanding marketing and selling is STP. Now, what is STP? So I'm going to straight away dealing with that part which I've been supposed to start with. So one of the most fundamental aspects of any marketing activity is to first of all understand your segmentation, targeting, and positioning strategy. Now, irrespective of whichever streams or verticals you've been working right now, whichever startups you've been working in, whichever streams you're working into, well, the most fundamental dimension of marketing is without understanding STP, you can't handle or plan any marketing activity in any industry. Now, what is STP? I can divide this STP into three different sets: segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Now, one of the initial steps of building up a STP strategy for any company is segmentation. Now, what is a segmentation? Now, how to get segments and why exactly segments are required? Now, let us fundamentally understand that your customers are not same. Every human being have a different individual personality traits. No two individuals are same. So because if you really want to serve them, you need to know how to serve them well compared to your competitors. One of the fundamental thing is understanding their personality traits. That is a fundamental way and the basic approach of identifying and building up segments. Now, what is the basic definition of segmentation is dividing the whole market which you want to serve into distinct group of homogeneous segments or clusters. So that is one of the basic stuff. The question comes, sir, what are the basis of segmentation? How can we possibly divide a Bengaluru market where we want to serve, maybe in a software industry or consulting industry or any similar industry where you want to put up your startup? Well, the fundamental thing, whoever what would be my customer, target customers, which I'm serving, maybe in the geographical area of Bangalore, I need to first understand that on what basis shall I classify my customers. It could be demographic, it could be geographical, it could be psychographic, it could be benefit seeking, what kind of benefit they want to seek from your services or your product, or a combination of that. I'm going to deal with all this in detail in the next slide. Once you know your segments which are available in the market, you have to you have to connect an activity where through there's a technique in statistical analysis known as cluster analysis, the multivariate technique. And there are ways to statistically cluster people in the market. Now, once you get your segments in the market, the next step is out of the available segments or the number of group of segments of customers, which one would you like to serve? How many of those segments you would like to serve? Maybe all, maybe few, maybe just one. So depending upon the companies to company, their strategy, you might serve. Let us take an example. If you look at the Indian market, I could take one of the example of Hindustan Unilever's Limited, which is a subsidiary of Unilever's Limited Incorporation. Now, if you look at Hindustan Unilever, it's almost available in almost all possible segments. If you look at demographic wise, geography wise, otherwise also and all other criteria of segmentation, they're actually serving us possibly all segments in India. Similar is Procter and Gamble. If you look at these couple of companies as an example, they serve almost all possible segments available in the market. But on the other hand, if you look at, say, crack cream, so this cream is only available when you really need to apply in the cracks in your foot and a particular season of the particular point of time in the day, in a year. That is a specific market they only serve for a specific problem in hand. That means they are serving only one segment at a particular point of time. That is a niche market. So why my point of discussion is it's all depending upon the company strategies, the focus of their area of work, how many segments they want to serve. So the second step of STP is targeting. So company need to decide among the available segments how many possible segments they are going to finally serve. Why is that required? Because the moment you decide a segment you want to serve, your whole positioning which you want to put in the mind of customers will purely depending upon who are your target customers. I'm just giving you a small example. A company known as Sephora. Sephora is only known for women cosmetics and very well known globally for women cosmetic brands and basically a retail chain, not a manufacturing chain. But if you look at the strategy they've been carrying, they're purely focusing on 25 to 35 age group of women across the world. Logic? They've gone to the whole research behind which particular age group of women shall I pick up. They got to know that from their researches, the girls which are younger than 25 would like to look just similar to the influential group of 25 to 35, and they want to apply what they're actually applying in the cosmetic brands. And the women which are older than 35 would like to look younger than what the similar group of 25 35. And basically, they want to apply whatever they are trying to use. The concept is if Sephora can able to serve 25 to 35 age group of women globally, effectively, the other following groups will able to serve by default. That means if you look at any typical brand in this world, whichever industry they've been serving, they have done a thorough research while identifying which segment to serve. So you can't just pick and choose a segment just by chance or just by gut feel or just by your experience or just by your intuition. You need to go for a thorough market research, understanding which segment we can possibly serve, what are the implications if I pick up a segment, what are the long-term and short-term implications, and foremost, the moment you pick up a segment to serve, you have automatically picked up obviously you have already automatically picked up your competition as well. So your competition which you're going to serve, going to compete with, the companies you're going to compete with, is a function of which segments you're going to serve. So there are two things you need to be very clear. One is if you're picking up a segment, you're going to set your positioning accordingly. Third, second, you're going to identify your marketing mix accordingly. I'm going to define you what do you mean by marketing mix bit later. And third, you're going to automatically identify your competition. So that is the most important dimension of in these steps, that is targeting. So targeting will help you in positioning, targeting will help you in defining your marketing mix, and furthermore, targeting will help you in defining your competition. Moving further, the moment you have identified which target segment you want to serve, based on that, the last stage which you're going to focus on in STP strategy for any company will be positioning your brand or product or service in the mind of customers. Now, why you really want to do the positioning? Now, what happens is the research says that every day, a single human being across the world being exposed to around 3,500 messages across the day. Now, out of that 3,500 messages across mediums, you hardly remember a few. And because of this clutter and noise, you hardly remember a few. And how is a company can ensure that they can able to build up a strong recall with this much of noise. Keeping that in mind, if your positioning is strong with the right possible effective medium to put your message in the mind of customers, you can able to build a strong brand association with the customer. So that's why if your positioning is strong and appropriate with the right medium you picked up, you can able to connect customers for long term appropriately. So I'm talking about that in the branding part. Once I cover up this part, and then I will getting into branding. I will explain much more in detail about how to build a positioning and what are the possible steps of positioning. Now, last aspects. Now, once you have decided your positioning, the basis for that, this will be the basis for building up your marketing mix. Now, you're going to ask, do you mean by marketing mix? Now, whether you're serving the market in a service industry or in a B2B or B2C industry through a consumer goods markets, you're going to have your marketing mix strategies. Marketing mix means product, pricing, place means distribution, product, uh, price, packaging, process, people. So there are 5 to 7 P's which you normally serve as a combination of your strategy for any market, purely depending upon your STP. So this is our basic thing. If I further bifurcate the steps of STP, these are the steps which you normally follow for designing your any segmentation targeting positioning strategy for any market. If you look at this PPT, I start from the bottom to top. That's the way you normally go for defining your STP. The first step for any segmentation strategy will be understanding the basis of segmentation. If I'm talking about the basis of segmentation, it depending upon in which market you're serving. Is it you're serving B2C market? Is it that you're serving B2B market or you're serving maybe C2C market? Depending upon the market structure, the basis of segmentation will be defined accordingly. I'm going to give you an example a few minutes later in next slide, how the basis of segment will differ based on which kind of market you serve. But before I go further, I'm just briefly talking about B2B and B2C. Now, if you look at a B2B market in any industry compared to B2C market, the demand which you serve in a B2B is a derived demand. The people normally ask why the B2B market is having been served by a derived demand. I would like to have an interactive session. If you really somebody want to answer quickly, I want to know in a few seconds why B2B normally serve a derived demand. If anybody can answer. Why B2B is driven by derived demand in any industry. And who derives the demand for B2B? I mean, which industry derives the demand for B2B industries in any industry? Which segment? Any idea? Many of you might be operating in a B2B market, or many of you might be operating in B2C market. So if you're talking about this, how would you define a derived demand? On which segment of the market derives your demand for a B2B market? Okay. So anyway, I'm going to answer it. Almost any industry, any vertical you talk about, almost all industries, B2B demand is driven by the B2C market. So the macro environmental factors are favorable or unfavorable. If they really favors the B2C market, the demand created by B2C market cascades to the demand of B2B market always. So this all about the interrelationship between a B2C or B2C and B2B in any industry. Coming back to the discussion now, as I said that you have to first identify the basis of segmentation. That is, in what way, what is the basis by which you're going to classify customers or customer profile? There should be some basis, right? It could be demography, it could be psychographic, or anything else. Maybe something else, depending upon the industry. So once you set the basis of segmentation, second thing is you get the segment and do the segment profiling. Once you got to final segments for the market available, the next step comes is you need to understand which segment is suitable and which segment is not suitable to you. How do you know whether segment is not suitable or suitable to you? So there will be some measures or criteria by which you pick up and evaluate a segment. Based on that, you pick up a segment or not pick up a segment to serve. That is, based on the measures or the criteria, you pick up your target segments. So we'll talk about this one by one. So once you picked up a target segment, you develop a proper positioning for each segment which you want to serve. So based on the positioning which you want to serve, it will be the base for developing your marketing strategy for that specific segment in the market. Now look at this. If you look at Dove as a brand in India, Dove normally sells the same soap or same shampoo or same content inside in different pack sizes in different form across market. If you look at tier one, tier two, tier three cities in rural market in India, you will not find the same pack size, same offers offered by the same company across. They actually customize. Why they normally look at it? And that is one part of marketing mix. So packaging, as I said, is one part of the marketing mix. Dove do not change the product soap as such. The Dove do not change the ingredient of shampoo which they serve. But what they change is the pack size. What they change is the price point based on the pack size they serve. Because look at the market situation, look at the market acceptability of the price point and the pack size, they normally customize their marketing strategies accordingly. If you look at tier one cities, you normally find a larger pack size available. The moment you go to rural India, maybe sachets and other kind of pack sizes are available. So even sachets concept actually started from that only. If you look at this concept as such, why they've been serving in this manner? Because the moment they pick up their target market, suppose they want to serve even tier one, tier two, tier three cities, and beyond that, they need to position accordingly in a consistent mix, adapting according to the target segment they've been serving to. If the target segment is rural market, accordingly they will adapt their packaging, they will adapt their price point, and if they're serving simply tier one city, accordingly they will set the things accordingly. So that is one of the major steps which you normally follow in a systematic manner to set the STP strategy for any company. I have just, in a brief manner, I talked about each of the steps which companies follow. Let me take
ऐसे
with an
पानी दे दो.
example of each of these one by. Sorry, can I? Shall I continue? Okay. So the first steps for any STP strategy is identifying segment basis of segmentation. Now, if you look at this slide, which is shown in front of you, this is a typical example of any B2C market. Now, if you look at this example, if I really want to serve, say, if you look at uh, the company like the furniture companies in India right now, you can see that couple of foreign brands have been coming in India, have been selling a customized, uh, based, requirement based furniture solutions in India. It
Hmm?
was not very long ago that this practice has been happening in India. If you look at now, the practices are you can have a bathroom solutions, furniture solutions, office solutions. This concept was not there a decade or half a decade earlier. How this all started? And if you look at the time frame of when this all started, in the interesting part is all have been exposed to this particular generation of millennials or furthermore in a same point of time. Today, if you look at the company like IKEA and others, even an Indian company like Fry, they've been serving Fry in an Indian form, started with online. Today, they have omni-channel stores in India. They've been doing this. Why this all been doing in this manner? If you look at the criteria, they are segmenting the market and serving accordingly. What do you mean by that? They understand the customer profile, their persona, their requirement, their lifestyle, the way they live, what kind of requirement they have, what kind of aspirations they have in life, what kind of mindset they have, and the behavioral pattern they carry, and the cultural values they carry in any market. They normally drive those aspects as a basis for the segmentation and drive their product accordingly. If you look at People Fry do not sell furnitures just like selling to everybody. They normally look at the solutions required for specific households in any part of Indian market, pan India. They normally customize solutions accordingly. Similar is IKEA, which now have entered following the similar pattern. Taking that as a base to understand, If you've really been serving any B2C market anywhere in Pan India or globally for that sort, you need to take any of these as a basis of segmentation. Let me give you one more understanding beyond that. You can classify market into one basis of segmentation. That is, you can just classify based on geography. That is, for example, if you really want to serve Bangalore, you can just take a zones of Bangalore, that is east, north, west, and central, maybe like that, and just serve accordingly and price accordingly and customize. Or maybe demography based on the demographic profile of the customer. Beyond that, even psychographic, the way they live, the lifestyle, the social class, the class of income group they've been carrying, and the persona they've been carrying, personality traits. Furthermore, way beyond psychographic, they can also serve market based on behavioral, that is, based on occasion, based on benefits or usage. I'm giving you one single, very interesting example of benefits, behavioral segmentation. If you look at Cadbury's in India, Cadbury is a well-known brand in India now for all segments for pan-Indian market. When they entered Indian market, they had two options. That is, in the context of positioning. Listen to me very carefully. We're talking about the story. The moment they set the positioning, they have already set the competition. They did a thorough research to identify what should be the positioning for Cadbury's brand in India. So they had two options. Either they position themselves as a chocolate brand, or else they want to position as a sweet brand. So when they analyze that, if I really concentrate on just as a chocolate brand, I will be just concentrating serving customers who actually consume chocolates and competing only with chocolate brand, maybe from Indian brand or foreign brand or altogether. The second option was positioning themselves as a sweet brand. If they really want to position as a sweet brand, their dimension of segment will be much more broader. They will be not only serving customers who are consuming chocolate or not consuming chocolates, they are also going to serve customers, even if those customers who have never consumed chocolate but consuming sweets. And now their competition will not be only chocolate brands, but sweets, unorganized and organized brands like Haldiram and others. Eventually, they picked up their positioning as a sweet brand. Look at, look at today's ad stories which they normally set chronologically. Almost all ad stories which they normally set in India just concentrate on one thing, occasion based segmentation. That is, they started identifying that chocolates consumption is relatively very low in India. How can I increase the consumption? So they identified a mechanism. They started designing campaigns based on festivals in India. So it was only one of its kind country strategy where they had adapted it globally. In no other market in the world, they follow this, a festival-based campaign. And even the packaging they had adapted, offer they had adapted was also based on festivals. Later on, the moment they started using this campaign, they realized that what about those times in a year when there is no event or no festival going on? Does that mean that people will stop consuming chocolate? So they started realizing that this will not work for long. This is not sustainable. So they thought that let me go beyond. They started designing campaigns, started changing the complete storyline and theme of the campaign now. If you look at recent years of their theme line, they are purely talking about happiness. Whenever you're feeling like happy, having a sweet around, you will feel like having a cup Cadbury's. So they're talking about 24 into 7, 365 days, 52 weeks. If you feel like having a sweet, you can have a substitute of sweet, that is Cadbury's. What I'm talking about is companies to companies, industry to industry. If they're really serving B2C, they can either take geography as a basis of segmentation, demography, or psychographic, or behavior, or a combination of them. Now the issue is further. If a company takes just one basis of segmentation, the segment size will be too broad, unfiltered, and huge to serve. And because this is not refined segment, there might be a customer group inside the segment who might not be properly fitting to your product or services because it's too broad and too generic, because you've taken just one basis of segmentation. On the other hand, if you take the two-factor and three-factor or four-factor segmentation, that is, you divide Bangalore into two groups, into four zones, Based on the geography, then further pick up the people based on demography whom you want to serve, and based on the age group of people and their and gender or income group, look at their psychographic pattern, their personality traits, whom you fit that your product is fitting to them, and then based on the benefit, you normally concentrate on the customer. So how many factors of segmentation you picked up? Four. That means first, you picked up geography, you divided. Based on the geography, you picked up that specific segment of demographic customers in Bangalore across four zones of Bangalore. And then based on their personality trait, you pick up further few of them, either male or female, who suits to your product based on personality traits. And then you serve only those who actually asking a specific benefit which purely fits to your product. What will happen is the more you go higher to the level of factor of segmentation, the more refined segment you pick. The good part is that. But the bad part is the size of the segment you're going to serve will be too small to serve. Why is an issue? Because the segment is too small, the profitability for to serve that segment will not be having enough motivation. So there's always a trade-off in life. There's always a cost-benefit analysis you have to carry. You need to always understand that if you just take one factor, you will be having a more broader segment. If you take multiple factors, you will be a much more narrow segment. So companies need to decide at what level they want to fix up their segment strategy. Okay. The moment you have decided that if you are in the B2C, this is the basis of segmentation, then you go for picking up a segment. This is for B2C market. If you're talking about B2B market, the criteria for B2B market segmentation is different. So you can segment your clients in a B2B based on demography. I will explain you what you mean by demography in the context of B2B. You can classify them based on a personality characteristic of a group of people who you are interacting with in the company, in the client company. You can also classify companies based on situational factors, purchase approaches, operational characteristics. Now, what do you mean by that? And how you can classify a B2B market based on these criteria? Exactly in this manner. In a B2B market, if you want to segment markets, you can segment them based on demography. That is, which size of the industry I want to serve, company's operational turnover size, and the location where they've been putting up their operations. So based on the location or company size and industry, if you look at these criteria, you actually classifying your client based on demography. If you really want to classify based on the kind of technology they are focusing on, the level of technological innovation they've been carrying in the processes, that can be another basis. Or the usage type, that is, they do have a heavy usage of your products or services, or the level of usages. This can be another mode of classifying the market. The third mode is situational factors. How urgently they need your services or product, what kind of specific application they require from your product, and of course the size of the order they're going to give you. So based on the situational factors, that is the third factor you can able to also use for classifying and segment the market. And then the last, based on the personal factors of the group of people whom you are interacting with in that industry. Maybe the personal characteristics and the personality trait of a group of people you've been interacting, or the loyalty part of those clients in that market. So basically, 4 or 5 factors are the major basis of B2B market segmentation. Now, once you're through with your segmentation criteria, you know how many segments are available in my B2C market or B2B market. The next thing is, which segment shall I serve? Now, if you really want to know which segments among the possible segments available in the market shall I serve, these are the possible 5 criteria on which need to identify a most probable segment for you. One is measurable. That is, can I able to measure the criteria for that segment? Is it really measurable for me? On this basis, the size, purchasing power, and the profile of the segments are really available for me, and I can able to measure the size of the segment, the purchase pattern of the customers in that segment, and the profile of the segment. If I can able to measure that part, one criteria is fulfilled. Second is size. Is the segment large enough to be profitable? So I told you a few minutes back, if you just take one factor segmentation, the segment will be as large as possible if you want to serve profitable. But the problem is highly fragmented, highly confused or highly overlapped kind of requirements people are going to carry in that segment. Not very much unrefined kind of stuff. But if you do, if they carry multiple level of factors for segmentation, the segment size becomes smaller. So it's a take on a company how many factor of segmentation would like to take. The moment they take the factor of segmentation, it will directly creating an impact of the size of the segment. This is the second criteria. Third criteria is is that segment is really accessible. What do you mean by accessibility? Now, uh, if you look at rural India in India, more specifically in the context of retailing, organized retailing, and that too brick and mortar retailing in India. If you look at rural India, retailers till date, pan India, majorly been visible in tier one, tier two, and majorly these tier three cities. Couple of areas in tier three cities. But when it comes to rural market, which is more than 750 million, maybe now more than that, customers in pan India, hardly few selective brands are available as far as retail industry is concerned. Now, one of the companies who are really building up a mark and benchmark for other companies to follow is Godrej Agrovet. Now, if you look at Godrej Agrovet, the CEO been saying that one of the interviews been saying that one of the most challenging part for to serve rural market is serving extra mile. Serving extra mile is extremely costly and extremely remote and extremely difficult because of the location part. And that's why companies, when they pick up a segment, they need to know that whether the segment is easily and effectively being accessible and can be served or not. Because costing is also important, whether the cost is high or low while serving the segment. So accessibility is also the third criteria which need to be picked in mind while picking up a segment. Fourth is differentiation. Now, one of the thing, if I talk about differential criteria, I'm giving an example of again the retail industry in India. In the context, you will be able to understand. You can connect those examples in your context as well, a bit later, while we will discuss that in your context as well. I'm giving an example of again brick and mortar stores in India. Our research says that Indian customers, including you and me, are highly disloyal when it comes to buying a vegetable and vegetables, food and vegetables. Across all other categories like baby care, beauty care, personal care, skin care, grocery, medicines, food and vegetable is one section where Indians show lowest loyalty. Now, when the issue is differential, how can you ensure that your store stands apart from other stores in India in the similar format, like Reliance Fresh, if they are serving in a supermarket format, and similar other supermarket brands want to compete with Reliance Fresh in the same format zone, in the same marketplace in India, the challenge is very stiff, very high, because it is very difficult to make people stick to one store when it comes to food and vegetable, because people do not show loyalty, patronage to store when it comes to food and vegetable. Then the question comes how a company finally eventually built up a differentiating factor compared to other store brands in India when it comes to food and vegetable. And that's a very difficult thing to answer. That's why when a company want to pick up a segment, they need to thoroughly answer whether whatever they want to plan in their marketing strategy, they really can able to differentiate their services or products compared to others in that segment or not. And that customers can appreciate that or not. And finally, after measuring that segment and understanding whether segment is sizable or not, accessible or not, can I able to differentiate my services? Finally, whatever I'm planning, can I able to execute that or not? Eventually, whatever I plan as a service firm or a product firm, people eventually connects with me or not, whether customers actually will buy to whatever I serve in the market or not. So that's why these are the five major criteria which can play the role of defining the segments which you would like to serve. So once based on that, you can pick up either of the three strategies to pick up a segment. Either serve the whole market, you become a company like as Hindustan Unilever, serve all possible market segments available in the market. You look at Pitanjali. When Pitanjali started, look at the strategy Pitanjali used to follow in the beginning. Time is less. I will still quickly you need to wrap up the things. Patanjali used to serve all possible segments which were available in the market in FMCG, fast moving consumer goods. Slowly and slowly, they realizes that they can't able to handle the turnover and the supply chain issues they've been carrying. Today, if you look at the issues with Patanjali, the major concerns company market is facing is the supply chain efficiency of Patanjali and the fill rate of Patanjali. Patanjali has been bad known in the market with a very poor fill rate. Fill rate means you have a demand for Patanjali among the customers, and retailers are normally ordering that demand in terms of ordering those products, but Patanjali is not supplying that much. So their fill rate is very poor. And because of that, although they are the mass marketer, they are not able to handle that market performance well consistently. So this could be one of the strategy a company can plan while picking up a segment or segments. Another way is for each specific segment, serve a separate marketing mix. I just gave you an example of Dove. So Dove can plan a separate distribution, separate pack size, separate product mix, maybe product line, variants of soaps, maybe separate price point because price point will be driven by the product size and other aspects also. So you can follow different marketing mixes for different segments. This is differentiated marketing, or else just pick up one segment, serve only that. So this is either way to pick up three possible ways by which a company can plan to pick up a target segment to be served. Finally, once you picked up the segments which you want to serve, finally the last stage which you want to define is positioning. That is, how would you design the offer which you carry for a particular customer, and you can distinct that or differentiate that offering compared to your competitor in the mind of the customer. Now the point is, sir, what are the possible ways by which company can position your brand of a product or a service? One, the first step is, this is very important. The first step is please define your competition. That means the category which you're serving, define which are the competitors whom you want to compete. Who will decide your competition? The company themselves will decide the competition. The moment they decide with whom they want to compete, the next step is you need to define, based on that, you need to define your point of parity and point of difference. Now, what do you mean by point of parity? Point of parity means that when you break even with your competitor, so whatever competitor is serving, you are serving just that. And customer, whichever customer is minimum expecting in the market, you serve that, you will achieve your point of parity. Now, beyond point of parity, the last stage is identifying the point of difference. Shiva, okay, giving a pause in between. I would like to listen what your question is. Shiva, ask me what you have question.
Hello. Yes, thank you for giving me an opportunity. So we were talking about target marketing strategy and brand positioning guidelines. I would take the same Patanjali example. See, now they were doing very well and their brand positioning was fantastic. But now, because of the court cases and all, so their value has come down. Similarly, especially Gen Zs are very conscious of values, what the values. So if you look at the recent war, which is happening, Israel war, that has bring down the profits of Starbucks, KFC, even Unilever products and all. So now they are going all out and repositioning themselves. So how important is brand positioning related to the target audience? So do we have to keep re-strategizing? Again, strategies required to be improved again in this turbulent markets? That is my question. Thank you.
Ms. Shiva, thank you. Very excellent question you have asked. Let me tell you, so the most important aspect when you're talking about any segmentation strategy or positioning strategy, thereafter the marketing strategy, one of the most important dimension is understanding environment. You can't define any of these marketing things which you've been planning right now without understanding your environment. You gave me the example of these wars which are going on right now, and eventually Gen Zs are changing their mindset and approaching towards the brands. You need to understand that across these decades, 3 decades across now, specifically from past 2 decades, there's a major generation shift has happened in India. Not only India, for that sort, happened globally. The way this generation of millennials and furthermore, the way they approach their life, the way they perceive that they would like to live their life is entirely different the way the previous generation used to live. If you look at the way they consume products, the way they switch products, and the way they phase out the product is much swiftly than compared to the previous generation. Now, if a companies who want to serve them, if they do not understand the parameters, the way they live their life, they will never be able to serve them well. The company who is coming, so look at the example of, I'm giving an example of, say, gluten-free products. There was no such concept in India maybe 5 years back. People do not ever able to even imagine, even dream that products having gluten-free ingredient will be going to be sold in India at any point of time, maybe 5 years later. Today, if you go to any typical stores, you have a segment, only small specific niche area where even retailers normally sell a gluten-free stream of products, even in almost categories where consumption categories also. From where this all started? Companies started realizing that the generation shift has happened. And this generation shift, favorably or unfavorably, making market to change. And companies who adapt stay, companies who do not adapt will vanish. If we look at BlackBerry, we look at Samsung, look at Nokia, what happened with them? Look at many other companies, what's for that sort. One common thing which you can take across as a learning is with generation shift, you have to change. You have to redefine your segmentation strategy. So my conclusion for your question is you need to keep redefining your segmentation strategy. You can't carry the same segment for long. Maybe those segments which used to serve 20 years back have grown old and they're not consuming or been using their product anymore. You have to resegment your plan, segmentation strategy based on the generation shift. Now, that is one of the major points which I'm trying to focus on. Have I answered your question, ma'am? Okay. So moving beyond. Now, coming back to my point. So I'm talking about positioning. While talking about your competition, the moment you set your competition, the next step is you're setting your point of parity. The third stage of setting your positioning is point of difference. Now, what is the point of difference? So whatever you do, people speak in your promotions, whatever you see in promotions across the world, maybe online, maybe through mass medium like television, print, or radio, or through other mediums, what they normally speak to the customers are all point of difference. The point is, when you normally talking about point of brand positioning for any brand in for B2C or B2B market, point of parity is need to be delivered, not to be spoken in a promotion, because customers in any market expect that point of parity is minimum to be delivered. If you really want to survive in any market, you need to at least serve point of parity. If people expect ground clearance from a car, safety features from a car, at least minimum features of safety, minimum features of ground clearance, if they really expect mileage or say average, whichever is expected as a standard in the market, you need to serve at least that much so that you can able to break even with your competitor. Beyond that, point of differences which do not nobody else serve. You have uniqueness in that, but that is unique selling proposition. So how would you ensure that whatever point of difference you carry, which you're going to speak in a promotions eventually, you can stand apart for long. If you really want to sustain your point of difference for long, there are certain criteria. Be very careful when I'm talking about that. Listen to me carefully. There are 3 criteria which need to be kept in mind for any company in any industry to keep a sustainable point of difference. First, desirability. It should be desirable from the customer's point of view. Second, deliverability. It should be deliverable from the company's point of view. Third, it should be sustainability. It should be sustainable from the competitor's point of view. I'm repeating again. If you really want to build up a strong long-term point of difference, which you want to speak in your promotions, mass or not mass mediums, you need to fulfill three criteria. That is, it should be desirable from the customer's point of view. It should be deliverable from the company's point of view. It should be sustainable from the competitor's point of view. So the question arises is, sir, how do you ensure that a company can fulfill desirability criteria? If we really want to fulfill desirability criteria, one of the way is moving beyond. One of the way is you need to ensure that the customers whom you're serving do feel relevance of that product in the market. Now look at Apple iPad. The first generation iPad, when it was introduced in America, eventually then thereafter introduced in other parts of the world. When they introduced the iPad, it was a radical innovation in the industry globally. In the first few months, weeks in the industry, even the American customers who are actually knowing Apple anyway, they were wondering what to be done with this product in the life. They were still trying to understand that, okay, pricing is one part. Pricing was a highly premium pricing. But is that product really required in the life? In their life? It took time for Apple to make people convinced that how relevant is that product in the life. Now, that is one of the most important dimension of desirability criteria. Till customer do not perceive that this product is really relevant in their life, they do not feel like buying and do not feel like having them in their life. So that is one you need to create either by your promotions or interaction and involvement with the customers or engagement with the customers with the help of through research understanding then and eventually through promotions. So really relevance need to be created. Second, do you think that your product carry any sort of distinctiveness as a feature or as an ingredient or as a benefit compared to a competitor? You can able to build second dimension of your desirability criteria. Third, of course, do people really going to believe what you say or what you serve in the market? So if you fulfill these three aspects, relevance, distinctiveness, and believability, you can able to fulfill the criteria of desirability. That is, it is desirable from the customer's point of view. Second, is this deliverable? That is, you need to go for a feasibility study. So whatever you're planning or promising to your customer to be served in the market, is it really feasible? Can you actually execute in market real time? So that feasibility is required. Second, so whatever you're going to deliver in the market, eventually how going to communicate, how going to speak about it. People can able to understand in the right manner. They can able to perceive the thing in the right manner, positively or not. These things need to be properly understood. Implication need to be understood and need to be gauged before you actually go for deliverability. So, and the last, sustainability. So whatever you're going to deliver eventually in the market, is it sustainable from the competitor's point of view? So these are three criteria need to be assessed by any brand before they put up their product and services in the market when it comes to point of difference. So let me recap. I was talking about STP. I talked about the various steps of STP and eventually talking about steps of brand positioning. Now, steps of brand positioning, time is left. I have to quickly go into the branding part. Now, the base for any branding strategy for any brand in market is positioning. If any brand manager do not understand the positioning concept and the steps of positioning, they cannot even think of doing the branding in any market. So once you have through the positioning aspect on discussions, I'm going beyond. Now, once you know what is the position you want to carry, you need to know what is a brand. Today, in today's world globally, anything can be branded. Countries can be branded, geographies can be branded, religion can be branded, product can be branded, ideas can be branded, services can be branded, anything can be branded. And to do the branding of that product or service or anything which you want to do, it's a combination of elements which you carry. Maybe a symbol, maybe a brand name, maybe a logo, signage, jingles, cartoon characters, or tones, or a combination of them as a whole build up the brand. Remember, in a lifespan of any brand, you will rarely see, seldom you will see that the symbols, names, logos, jingles, cartoon characters, or maybe the punchlines or anything of that sort as a combination do change. They hardly change. They relatively stay for long with a brand in the lifespan of a brand. Why? Because the customer who connects with the brand connects because of these elements. In fact, I am giving a story. Time is less, but still I'm telling you the story of a Coca-Cola. If you look at Coca-Cola brand, one of the strongest association Coca-Cola carry across the world is the color of the packaging, which is red. And color of the packaging is one of the strongest recall factor which Coca-Cola carrying globally. In recent study, it was identified that the global brand value of Coca-Cola is more than the annual GDP of three small countries in the world. One of them is Bolivia. Other two I do not remember. If you sum up the three annual GDPs of these three countries, the annual brand value, global brand value of Coca-Cola. And one of the strongest source for Coca-Cola brand value is the color of packaging, among others. So that's I mean to say that a combination of them plays a role for doing the branding of any product or any services or whatever aspect you're doing the branding on. So these are the important dimensions. Why would you do that? People connect with your product and services not because what you serve, because of that association which you carry in their mind. And how you develop that association? By building up that brand. I'm giving you a simple example. You go to a store, organized store, of course, pick up a common open sugar cane, particular basket which is carrying. You want to buy a 1 kg sugar, you're buying in open, you're buying it. It's more like a commodity. Similar thing is packaged by Reliance Fresh, put up with the real value name inside a category of grocery as a sugar category with a brand name of real value labeling become a product. If Pitanjali sells with the brand name of their with the sugar category in the packaging form itself become a brand. Now, what is the difference across? Sugar remains as a commodity, will remain. But that same commodity become branded because you build up associated with that as a name, symbol, logo, or a combination of them carries a trust in the mind of a customer. That trust and reliability which customers carry for a particular brand build up association. The second time when they will come back to the store, they will not rationally look at that brand again. They do not rationally compare on a price engaging part to compare to other competitors. They normally connect and pick you up as a product or service purely based on the brand association which you carry. How you carry them based on the elements which you have, which you build over the years. Now, how would you build those elements? Obviously, through consistent promotional campaigns which you run and engagement with the customers over a period of time. Once you build up the brand, what is the value you carry? So one of the studies, one of the framework proposed in one of the study done by Calvin Lane Killer was this framework. Calvin Lane Killer says that if you really want to build up a strong brand within a lifespan of a particular company, he proposed a stages by which a brand can be built in a lifespan. He mentioned that when a brand is relatively new into the market, whether you're in a service industry or in a B2B or B2C market, you start always with building a brand awareness. The moment you really want to build up a brand awareness, how would you will ask a question, sir, how would you build up a brand awareness? Obviously through promotions, brand promotions. The moment you run promotions, the objective of that promotion is purely to build up awareness. Now, how would you know, sir, after running a campaign for 1 month, my campaign is over, have I achieved 20% awareness level increase in the market? How would you know? Obviously, you will go for market research, pick up a sample from the market where you have run that campaign. You want to understand whether the sample could able to know about your product. If they can able to answer quickly about, respond quickly about your brand, you achieve what you required for. So the first stage for brand awareness, you need to first pick up a brand recognition. That is, people can identify your brand among your competitors consistently across situations. So brand recognition can also be known as the breadth of awareness. That is across situation when they can identify your brand. So breadth of awareness can be captured by brand recognition and depth of awareness can be captured by brand recall. Furthermore, when your initial stage of entry in the market is over, your brand awareness created in the market, your brand relatively become older in the market now. People know about your brand. Your campaign no more you don't no more you require to do run for promotion only for brand awareness. Now, when you really want to run a campaign for the more, you have to change the objective of a campaign. The objective of the campaign will shift to brand imagery. How can I build up a strong, favorable, unique imagery in the mind of customers? If a campaign objective is this, your purpose of doing that will be building up a strong association. The question comes based on Kevin Lane Killer. If any brand in B2C or B2B market, in a service industry also, if they really want to build up a strong brand associations, he proposed that any brand can go at three levels of brand association. The least initial level of lowest level of brand association any company can carry is attribute based brand association. That is, you can carry a brand association based on the attributes which you serve in the market. The higher level than attributes is the benefit level segmentation. Association. That is based on the benefits which you carry in a product or a service. Functional level, experiential level, or symbolic level. So based on the second level of benefits, you can also serve the market. The highest level is the attitude level. Now, how would you know at what level of attribute association they've been carrying of the brand? Your promotional content and the storyline of a campaign will tell you exactly as an indicator at what level they are. Look at Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson globally just do one major thing once in a year: pep rallies. There are maybe dozens and more than dozens of Harley Davidson bikers, bike driving the bike together in one particular pep rally show across the world. When they plan this show, publicity is done, promotion is over. What do you do? Why they're doing this? They're building up the communities among themselves. They have already passed on all those level of association with the customer. They are beyond all those. They are in the highest level of association in the brand life of Harley Davidson. Imagine when the Harley Davidson was there in India, they had stores in India. They have now gone back from India now, for your knowledge. Now, when they entered India, if you look at when you enter the stores of Harley Davidson, in the same store, they're not only selling high-end bikes, they were selling even toys, having the brand of Harley Davidson. It's an interesting story. What Harley Davidson did is they did the brand extension. So in the same store, they're not only selling the bikes, but weird, actually, they're selling toys also. So what they're talking about is they're building up a community networking, which is an excellent example of the highest level of association any brand can carry. Summarizing this dimension and framework, which Kevin Killer has said that he proposed that any brand can build up these associations, starting from the initial stage of brand awareness to the highest state of attitude. So if you really want to build a brand for any industry, even if for you as a startups or entrepreneurs, this is a very important and a very useful framework which you can carry back home and understand this and try to apply in your own startups to map eventually where you stand and where you want to end into as a roadmap for you to build a brand. This is the right strategy he proposed for any industry, eventually even for the startups also. So you can also apply for your context as well. Coming back, going further, I'm going to the last stage of my discussion before I open it for the discussions. Now, if you really, any company as a startup also want to do any market analysis, what are the things you really want to do? First, of course, starting with my discussions, properly, thoroughly analyze your STP. Once you're done with your STP, automatically, by default, you have set your competition. So you also need to understand who are your competitors. So interesting part is you not only will do your SWOT for yourself, you will do SWOT for your competitors also. That is, strengths, weaknesses for your internal assessment, opportunity threat is the external assessment, not only for you, but for your competitors. Third, understand who are your target audiences, what they normally like or dislike, what are their preferences, what life they live, what is their lifestyle, what are their value system, carry that in idea very thoroughly, focus them. Not only that, you need to keep tracking your trends in the industry, following up the consumer shifts, technological shifts going on. If you look at, see, Puma is one of the interesting examples. Puma was a market leader 3 years back in India, post-COVID, pre-COVID, sorry. Before the first wave of COVID, if you look at the market scenario of footwear market in India, premium foot market, footwear market in India, Puma was a market leader. They had roughly 350 stores in India. The distant other competitor was, I think, Nike or Reebok, and furthermore. Puma, for some reason or another, after second wave of COVID, it reduced their 350 stores into 150 stores, almost close to half. Still maintain the market leadership. The question is actually why did they reduce the penetration in the market from 350 stores in India? The part was they need to do the technological transformation inside the stores. Per store, they're actually spending huge amount of money to convert the simple traditional stores into omnichannel stores. Today, if you look at the Puma strategy in India, they're slowly in phase-wise pan-India converting their single store channel into multi-store concept of a multi-channel strategy. Actually, it is taking time and too much of money is involved, time is involved, and the complexities are there. Technological advancements also been carrying. This is an excellent example of technological transformation. So need to understand these trends and accordingly tune yourself and also understand which channel will be suitable for you. I'm giving you some example before I open up to for your question. Then set your budget and understand the metrics which you want to like to follow for your performance. I've been teaching from past couple of years a course known as marketing analytics. So I normally keep telling my students that if you really want to use a major matrix across all dimensions of marketing, one of the major matrix is ROI. But one of the major drawbacks of ROI is a very panoramic view. You always look at the overall expenditure and overall revenue of a company at the end of a financial year. But you do not look at the marketing performances across all parts of the year. So ROI do not give you the macro level understanding of your performances. If you really want to go to the macro level understanding, the metric which you can possibly use is MROI, is marketing ROI, or MROI. We normally call it MROI. MROI. So if you really want to use MROI, you can easily track your measure performances of your campaign level activities. So you can track your campaigns based on the metrics which is MROI. So MROI can give you a miniature level understanding of performances. What I want to say that is, company to company, you need to decide what metrics you want to use. So metrics need to be decided because eventually what you do in all activities of marketing, you need to track your performances. One way to track performance is midway, while your activity is already going on. Intermediate metrics you can use to understand performances, or you can use end result metrics maybe after your campaign is over. So MROI is an example of end result metrics. Maybe web page or the traffic which is going on in your online promotion may be a intermediate metrics. So traffic will give you enough idea for if you are going for a social media campaign or a online campaign to understand that whether I'm going the right direction with my campaign or not. So if you're really going for online campaign, traffic or impression could be intermediate criteria to evaluate. If you're going for offline and online, maybe MROI is the end result metrics. Eventually, talking about that, the gist is you need to set your metrics for performances. And the last is, obviously based on that, continuously monitor your performance, understand consumer feedback continuously, and understand the implication of what you do on competitors and their possible reactions on and their movement on that. This is a possible marketing analysis every particular company need to follow. Just a small snapshot of a research and the insights drawn from them. One of the most effective ways by which companies are normally been following brand awareness strategy through promotions is widely most among the recent studies in India, in one of the studies in India, normally majority of respondents says that the startups says that this is a study among the startups in India very recently, a year back. They studied that major respondents responded that we have been applying social media. Larger number of respondents prefer social media over other media of a promotional medium. So this is one of the trends going on in India compared to what kind of mediums the startups are using right now for brand awareness. Another important study insight drawn in the similar study was the major challenges startups are facing as of now. In this study, most of them said that one of the most important and complexity they've been carrying, complex situations they're carrying is acquiring or identifying new customers compared to serving the existing customers and handling them. So this is one of the recent scenarios which are being predicted. And based on that, they recommended what to be done in future based on whatever startups can follow on. So there are few insights I have shared and a couple of other things that have already been shared with you. These are major insights which I was trying to draw. Before I close down, I want to know if you have any questions regarding to my discussion now. Open up. Time was too short in a specific time of 1 year, 1 hour. Whatever was possible for me, I could able to handle that part in the pace of my discussion. I hope you could able to cope up with my pace. Normally, I cover up these things in a phase-wise manner across sessions. Fine. I'm open up for discussion now. Yeah, please, Mansi, can please ask your question now.
Hi, I just
Hi.
want to know that since you mentioned that social media marketing is the best way of marketing at the moment in India, um, what do you suggest? Because see, marketing is something that we as a brand are really struggling with, because social media marketing in a B2C sector especially requires a lot of money. So if you're a bootstrapped company, how do you manage in that case? And do you prefer having an in-house team or hiring someone from outside to do the same?
This is a very tricky question, Mansi. Actually, depending upon you need to internally assess who you do have a potential people who can able to handle social media platforms internally. Because one of the important dimension of social media is SEO. Do you have people, potential people in house who can able to handle SEO algorithm, search engine optimization algorithm? If you have a trained or qualified people who can handle this dimension, and even there are other dimension of algorithm dimensions which can able to ensure that the social media campaign will go fine or not, you can go in-house. If you do not have and have a financial constraint, you need to again then compare whichever firms are available to give you outsourcing operations, pick up them. But this is completely your take. For one thing is what we are very sure, Mansi, in today's scenario, online medium is one of the most effective medium among all for promotion and building up visibility and brand visibility in the market. I tell you why. This all is a new normal for all of us. In our life, we never heard that, never realized that COVID will ever come into our life. Things were not that way prior to COVID 2019. Things were not in this manner, in the way we have been witnessing right now. Why we see most of the people majorly buy online and majorly company all are driving towards social media. It was not like that. 3, 4 years back, it was not like that. COVID had created a new normal for us. Whether we like or dislike, it's a new normal. Social media become a major mode of promotions globally, even for you. So keeping that as a medium, keeping that as a new normal, understand that keeping that in mind, you have to assess whether internally you can build up your competence of your workforce who can able to handle this, or else you have to hire. But one thing is for sure, Mansi, keeping that in mind as a sustainable pattern coming up, as an environmental factor coming up, not for long you can able to outsource things for long. If you really want to build up a consistent brand promotions in the market, you can't keep spending money on outsourcing your activities for social media campaign. Sooner or later, you have to hire people. You have to build in-house workforce, in-house talent pool who can able to build expertise on this platform. So my advice is, as quickly as possible, started building a pool for yourself.
Right. So basically, this will not only be for digital marketing, it will be for the entire social media branding.
Mansi, digital marketing is a one subset of social media, one part. Digital marketing is not the whole thing.
Right.
You can use a combination of digital marketing, social media, and other content marketing. But all depending upon the budget which you carry. And for foremost, you should not forget one most important thing in the whole process of discussion. Who is your target audience? Your target audience media consumption pattern is the most common and the important criteria before deciding among these which are the most important medium you want to pick up. You can't choose the way you like. You need to pick up what audiences like whom you want to serve.
Right.
So this is their media consumption which you want to focus. How would you know? Research. Please do a proper, thorough research. Whom you want to serve, in which part of the country, which part of the world they are, how they consume media. Look at closely, monitor that. Accordingly, decide your media mix.
Got it.
So if your media is social media, fortunately, unfortunately, your customers are actually tuned to social media. Whether like or dislike, you have to adjust yourself to social media as early as possible.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anybody else? And foremost, and the second point, beyond what you asked, you do not be myopic. Please follow industry experts, follow trends, follow columns, read offline, online, follow parameters of industry changes, keep following trends also, and mega trends also, predict future, predict trends, predict scenarios, and build yourself ready for your scenarios in the future. Your promotions, your product, your service, your pricing, all P's, all S, whatever you've been following as a combination, C's, A's. People have proposed A's also, people propose C's also, people propose P's also. Prepare all P's, C's, and A's based on future scenarios. So future scenario predictions is very important. Keep reading, keep listening, keep doing. Anybody else? You can't open it with your mic. You can at least write in the chat box. I can able to understand. Please write in the chat box, Sabu. Okay, could you go through the next slide? And sorry, this is long back. Okay. Anybody else want to ask any questions? We have the largest population of youth in the world. Why is that in the IT field, there are hardly one globally recognized product brand? I have my reservation about Zoho, but we can discuss this separately. At the same time, many of the global brands have Indian intelligence there. So what are we are doing wrong? I have feeling that discussing big brand like Coca-Cola, etc., are not suitable for startups. Ah, yes, yes, of course, of course. My dear, in 1800s, Coca-Cola was also like you, right? So don't think that Coca-Cola started beginnings with the biggest brand ever. So they also started with the same journey the way you have been starting with. Understand the way they have gone, the approach and the path they have taken. Learn from their experiences, learn from their failures and successes. You can also learn from the negative and positive part of them. I'm not just giving the example, I'm actually telling these brands being stand apart. So you're talking about Coca-Cola. Let me ask you, from the past 5 decades or 4 decades, we look at Fortune 500 companies. Whatever Fortune 500 companies are there in 1900, 1990s, 1920, 1930s, 1950s, beyond, how many remained? Why did they remain? They were startups at their point of time when they started. Even look at KFC, the way KFC started. Look at KFC today. The way Starbucks started, the way Starbucks today. Look at any other company like Lenovo. You're talking about Lenovo. Lenovo was having a difficult time in America. Lenovo is a Chinese brand. When they entered the American market, they were miserably failed. Backfired. Backfired. Their entry was backfired. What they did eventually? They thought they did a lot of research. Lenovo was not being acceptable in the American market. Being a Chinese brand in America, they acquired an American brand. You know which one? ThinkPad from IBM. The moment in 2015, 2010, if you have bought Lenovo laptop, that is from American version, you would have seen that the moment you open a laptop, in a keyboard on the right-hand side, the ThinkPad logo will put up. They collaborated with that. Today, if you look at Lenovo, they are the most expensive imported brands of laptops in America. I'm talking about an example that how did they started, not about the example what they are today, the way they started. It's a learning. Now, coming back to your example, Sabu, talking about IT, one of the biggest issues why not even a single major IT firms are been well known across the globe. One of the biggest issue across the globe, across industry is country of origin. Let us understand. And whether you like or dislike, in branding also, Kevin and Killer says that country of origin can be a barrier or can be advantage. Coca-Cola carrying country of origin as an advantage. For India, companies need to ensure, like Infosys or others, need to ensure that how can they eliminate these issues of country of origin as an issue or as a barrier. So there was a professor who studied this long back 2015, an Indian professor in Harvard, Professor Rohit Deshpande. He said that there's a concept known as prominence paradox. The prominence paradox says that a developing brand from a developing world like India, when they go to developed market like US, and they really want to charge premium, they want to build premium brand, they can't because country of origin is a barrier. But when when a brand coming from a developed world and want to build a charge premium in a developing world like India, they do. Why? Because country of origin is an advantage. Then he gave an example of Lenovo. And with the Lenovo example, he proposes that if you can identify a solution by which you can able to overcome prominence paradox, you can able to overcome this branding issue. Whatever question you ask can be overcome. Two more questions you have asked. I have positioned my brand as an affordable price. Acha, Bhavish. But after 10, 15 years, the price will also get increased. So how should I price my brand in such a way that it should be affordable now also and after 10 or 15 years also? Bhavish, need to understand one thing. The segment which you are serving, will that segment will stay with you for another 10, 15 years? If that's the thing, you do not disconnect with the segment. So if you really want to ask a question on a pricing strategy, keep connecting with the customers. Keep asking these questions. I remember one of the participants had asked a similar question with my previous professor, discussing upon the pricing strategy. So there are majorly three pricing strategies in the world. Either you go for competitive pricing, cost plus pricing, or perceived value pricing. The recent studies and the recent researches across the world says that most of the companies across the world are slowly moving away from competitive pricing or cost plus pricing to the perceived value pricing. When I said that, I'm also telling you the flip side. One of the most difficult pricing strategies to execute is perceived value pricing. And the most effective is also that. And a recent example globally, which is actually only following that, is the fashion industry globally. Fashion industry globally actually follow perceived value pricing. Coming back to your example, Bhavesh, if you have been selling IT services in India, maybe your brand is actually been following. If I'm not wrong, if you are into IT or maybe similar industry, again, because you're serving services, now the major thing is companies are slowly moving to perceived value pricing. So people are proposing that you need to move. Even if you dislike or like, sooner or later, Bhavesh, you need to plan perceived value pricing. Now, what is the perceived value pricing? In another 215 years, you have to go back your customers back, do a research, understand, are you willing to pay me this price compared to my competitor? If you see that my services are better than my competitor, and if I'm seeking this price from you, are you willing to pay or not? If your customer is really loyal, they are going to pay for you. Willingness to pay will be very high, and their price sensitivity will be very low. So, conclusion of my discussion is continuously connect with your customer, keep doing research, continuously in loop with the customer, build up a relationship. Your pricing will be continuous research based on the continuous research. You can't run the same price point across years of 10, 15 years. Really, if you really want to understand how I'm going to shape up my pricing, research and connectivity with the customer. Any other questions? Bhavesh, have I answered your question, by the way? Let me close down my PPT now.
Okay, thank you, sir, for this insightful session. And the next speaker is here already, so
Okay, I'm already
thank you
late
so
now.
much. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye. Yeah.